Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. Game 2 tonight, Leafs Bruins. Chris Johnston coming up in a moment from Boston. We'll get his take on Game 2 tonight.
And don't do any dirty work on that Dakota Joshua, how he, just don't talk to insiders.
Doesn't matter. Future considerations. He was traded to St. Louis for futures in 2019.
Just don't even dig into it.
Doesn't matter.
Because I know some people that are in the know that know the digging into, and I just got it, and you'll throw up, so don't do it.
Yeah. Don't bring up Carter Verhaeghe. Don't bring up Mason Marchment. Don't bring up Zach Hyman. Don't bring up any of that stuff. We don't need it today.
Just a quick little, the Marchment one for that Malgin.
For Malgin, it's just an outrageous trade.
Lunacy, man.
Absolutely outrageous trade. Even the Verhaeghe deal was
what if
wild.
they lose tonight? Let's circle back on the Marchment trade tomorrow and just...
Well, he'll be out playing tonight. He'll be bombing around doing his thing. You know that. You know that's coming. So yeah, we got a bunch of games tonight, including Leafs Bruins. We've got the Oilers in action, Game 1. Struddy will join us. Jason Strudwick from Edmonton in about an hour. Something to Chew On is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This playoffs, we need to cheer like we've never cheered before. With the fans we've always cheered against, the cup needs to come home, and you need to catch all the action at your local BP sports bar. The belief is, based on what we saw at Morning Skate today, Ilya Samsonov will start. We've been asking people online who should start. Not who will, but who should start. Noodles, we'll begin with you. How do you... where do you reside on this question? Who should get the start net tonight for the Leafs?
I'm going to regurgitate what we talked about in the 4 o'clock hour. I think, Hayes, you brought the point up. I think you go back with Samsonov tonight and see how it fall. The chips fall. And then if you don't like what you see, you go to Wall in Game 3. But if you go to Wall right now and it doesn't go so well, now it's tough to go back. To me, you give it another opportunity because, like we said before, yes, Samsonov. I thought he was just okay. The Randy Carlyle. I thought he made some good saves, but you want to find a save or two extra. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of guys that had more too. So you can't sit them all out who didn't have their best games in Game 1. So give them another opportunity, and then you readjust if there adjustments need to be made for Game 3.
Who would you have put in?
I would go with Samsonov again. I think you don't want to panic after one game. That's another part of the concern.
But doesn't it go into your brain that if this guy stinks to join out in the first period, how could I have put him back in there after the first performance?
Yeah, listen,
everything is going to be criticized. Retrospective analysis is going to take over, and you're going to be like, "What the hell were you doing?"
Well, 62% of people online saying Samsonov, that's who they would start. 38% saying Wall. There's a split in the fan base, and I would guess within the organization, they would have had all these conversations and play. And he wasn't the reason they lost. They scored one run or one goal. I just had a Blue Jay thing pop into my head because it was the same thing against the Twins. Remember Barrios to Kikuchi? They scored one run that game. It's the same thing. You only put one goal on the board, you can't win in the playoffs. It's not going to happen. But we've heard a lot leading up to this, and it's factual. The Bruins have better goalies than the Maple Leafs, and that the Bruins were going to win that battle. Well, if you're going to win the series, that can't be true in 4 of the games. They can saw off, but you can't outright lose or underperform compared to who's playing at the other end of the rink, or else they're not going to get out of the series.
I would say that's mission number 1 tonight. Go try to expose something, whether that's through a change in the lines if you really need it, a different approach, some kind of matchup that you can say, if we keep doing that for 4 or 5 more games or however long the series is going to go, we'll win this series. Go and try to want that one thing where you say, if we can expose that, we're going to beat these guys. You found out it's probably not going to be the goaltender. Maybe it's a D pairing. Maybe it's the penalty kill you have to take advantage if you get a power play. But just go find that one thing where you're like, this is our key to win this series. And if they take stupid penalties, we'll bury them every time. If they get those 2 defensemen out there, we'll bury them every time. Go out there and find one thing tonight that can help you win the series.
Yeah.
If you really simplify and break it down, try to find that.
I totally agree. And I think the obvious ones going in, Matthews against anyone up the middle, that's got to be an obvious win. It has to be.
Yes, if they got a defensive zone face-off with a fourth line or something, Matthews, go out and find
play
that
him
matchup
25 minutes tonight.
And bury them and score a goal.
Yeah, he's got to play 25 minutes tonight.
I know, but
you got to ride
like
your horses.
There's so much and I call it standard play. Like a dump in and you get to the corner and you almost get the puck and then it gets chipped out along the boards and then it gets chipped out in the neutral zone and then you try to it was just like, you know what I mean by standard play where it's like there's no nothing to it. There's no oomph at all. You got to go out there and create.
Well, every bit of ice is contested out there, so you have to find a way to break through. That's basically what they need to do tonight.
Leafs Bruins tonight down in Boston is Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey insider, and he joins us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. CJ, how would you describe the general mood of the Leafs the last couple of days?
It's surprisingly calm, I would say. I didn't get any sense of anyone being rattled. Obviously didn't like a lot of aspects of their game one performance, but, we kind of forget it, but these guys have been here before. Unfortunately, of course, they haven't come out on the right side a lot of the series, and I think that's probably what have people most concerned about that kind of outing. But what comes with that is, I think, the confidence to move past it. Pointing out that they had a rough first game against Tampa last year and still came back and won that series. So, I saw a confident, composed group both yesterday, the little bit I was around them, and then today at the skate.
CJ, why is William Nylander skating around doing Black Aces things? I don't know what's up with him. I don't think anyone does, but Stanley Cup playoffs, why would you want to go out on the ice? It doesn't make sense to me.
Just because you think he doesn't need the conditioning or?
No, you don't need conditioning. You just played 82 regular season games. Why would you want to risk retweaking or doing something like that? I always had it in my head where it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. You don't need 2 or 3 practices to come back and play. You get healthy and you play. So if he should have just went back to Toronto, why is he buzzing around out there in the morning doing stupid stuff?
I don't have a good answer for that one. As you probably noted, there's not a lot of intel being shared on this situation. And, it's hard to figure out exactly what's going on. I think I have some idea maybe what he's dealing with, call it upper body injury, but, it doesn't seem like he's going to play tonight, but who knows? The whole thing has been strange. The fact that he played all 82 games, that he was, he had a 2-minute shift that went into the last minute of the last game in Tampa, misses his first game in 7 or 8 years due to an injury in game one. And then today he's doing all that work. It's hard to, kind of add it all together and figure out what's happening. And, maybe we get a surprise and he plays. I'm not sure where this is headed.
Chris, the lack of information that we're getting, I understand it's the playoffs, but is there a lot of whispers behind the scenes? And we've been doing it here for an hour, just over an hour, kind of, hey, I wonder if it's this, wonder if it's that. I mean, has there been a lot of spy action, we'll call it, where you're walking, maybe checking to see if he walks out of the dressing room with something on his back or on his neck or something like that? Has there been people kind of digging in to try and get the real scoop, or just letting the Leafs just say, hey, we're not talking about it?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I mean, the playoffs, because there's so little information offered up directly, you got to use your eyes when you're covering one of these series. I mean, even yesterday, I went to the practice rink and just sat there to see if Nylander would skate, and it ended up that he did. He was just out there with the other players that were scratched in game one. And so you're trying to piece information together, piece together what you see. This is an older rink too, Noodles. So, there's I would call it less places for the visiting team to hide. And so, yeah, I mean, trying to figure it out. I really don't have the exact answer what's going on with Nylander. But, it's got to be encouraging. If we step back and take a breath, it's got to be encouraging that he skated 2 days in a row in terms of the fact that, he's going to be a factor in the series at some point.
With Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey insider, we've discussed a lot of the history of the Leafs and the Leafs versus the Bruins coming into this. Sheldon Keefe's been the head coach of this team now for 6 series. They're 1-5 in game ones with him behind the bench. They haven't beat the Bruins now in 8 straight games. The 5 games they've played the Bruins this season, they have not had a lead for even 1 second. Of those statistics, which one is most meaningful for you?
I think the last one, that they've played, so many games already against Boston, and they haven't ever really had the upper hand. They haven't even scored first in the game and got to feel good about themselves. As much as the players will take a question about that and say, I don't remember what happened last week. I mean, it at minimum is a source of confidence for the Bruins because they've had so much success against the Leafs. A lot of the games have played out in a similar fashion to what we saw in Game 1 here, where Toronto has had big times where they've had the sort of advantage territorially with the chances, and then one opportunity goes down the other way, like that 2-on-1, and Boston ends up cashing in on it. I mean, the Leafs deserve to win-o-meter is very high against Boston, and they don't have a win. They haven't had a lead. I think that's probably the most significant statistic, and of the ones you mentioned, and I do think that they have to clearly change course in that tonight. I mean, they have to. You're looking for pushback tonight. You're looking for evidence. It's kind of interesting. There's all these guys with the team. Like there's lots of sort of lineup sort of decisions that could have been done. It appears, and barring whatever happens with Nylander, that they're going with the same pairs, the same lines, and basically looking for a different outcome because they need a higher level of execution throughout the lineup.
CJ, how would you describe just the whole mood of the team? They don't seem to be, and I'm not expecting someone to come out with a Marc Messier prediction, but it's like, I don't know. It just seems from the coach to the players like there just doesn't seem to be a lot of juice. Do you sense that, or where are you at with that?
No, I saw some juice this morning. I mean, it was a pretty lively room when we got in there after the skate. A lot of sort of goofing around, like in the good way, like in a way that I think is positive and sort of team building, a sign of camaraderie, a sign that they're having a good time. I don't feel like they're lifeless or anything of that nature. And again, I really was pleasantly surprised, I would say, with what I heard in the dressing room immediately after Game 1. Sometimes in those situations it can be, sometimes quite frankly, the players will come back at the media about certain questions or whatever. I felt like there was a lot of ownership of what happened. There was a lot of acknowledging, where they fell short in that game in terms of some of the mistakes they were making. That shot them in the foot. Obviously, a couple penalties, that ended up going in the net because the Bruins scored 2 power play goals in the game. So, I actually think mentality-wise, as far as I can tell, and obviously I'm at arm's length here, I think they're in a good spot. But, all that stuff gets thrown out the window when the puck drops, and they need to play a much better game. I mean, that was as sleepy a game as you could, imagine from this team. Under circumstances that obviously you don't want that to happen. So
what a description, CJ. Sleepy.
It was. I mean, there wasn't. You probably liked the first couple shifts. Honestly, the Leafs were pretty assertive right off the puck drop. Robertson had a chance, and then one mistake and it's in the net, and they just never. The game didn't really get out of reach, of course, until the second period, but didn't feel like they were fully in the game for whatever reason. So I'm looking for a much more engaged response tonight, and let's see if they do it. If not, it's going to be an interesting atmosphere coming home for Game 3.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Sheldon Keefe again, 1-5 in Game 1s. A lot was made, and I tend to agree with the assessment that Calle Jarnkrok, who's barely played in the second half, played a ton on Saturday night, including PP1.
That drove people nuts.
Well, and it should. I mean, Calle Jarnkrok doesn't have this reputation as some big game playoff performer either, and he's a good
been off
player.
for 2 months.
He's barely played in the second half due to injuries, and he steps right in and plays that amount. But Keefe's comments on Domi after the game, we've discussed it at length, CJ. I'm curious your take on him saying what he said about Domi's slashing penalty, and then today circling back and finally playing the I better send a message to the ref game about focusing on Marchand and referencing he loves Max's intensity. What did you make of Keefe in terms of Domi in particular and his commentary Saturday and commentary today?
I think it was an honest assessment. The one thing I find with Sheldon, especially post-game, you get unvarnished quotes from him, and a lot of them have given us, days of something to talk about because he'll call out players in certain circumstances or, have some of those assessments. And look, it was a bad penalty at a bad time in the game. I mean, it wasn't a result of, it might have been a result of being too fired up, too emotional for the game, but in that moment, it wasn't like he was responding to a big hit or something. I mean, he was the initiator there and it hurt his team. And so, I think that what you've seen happen over the day since he made that comment is it's shifted slightly. It was quite pointed, right after the game. That's an undisciplined penalty. Can't have that. And then by this morning, he's saying, I like Max's passion. I like his emotion. I don't have to talk to him. He's been around the league a long time. He's played a lot of big games. He knows how to channel it the right way. So, I think that I didn't have any problems with the comments. And, it's pretty clear, Domi's wanting to set a tone in a game like that. I think, he comes to this town knowing the organization almost as well as any player could that hasn't played here until this season, knows what the storylines are, knows that the Leafs are known for being pushed around in big games, and he's trying to counteract that a little bit. And so I think he's just got to be a little smarter with how that goes down. And, I don't think it's going to be an issue that lingers.
Where are you at with the goalie, or what were you hearing around the last couple of days? There's been lots of debates whether you go to Joseph Woll or you come back with Samsonov. What's your gut? What's everyone telling you around you? And, what do you make of it?
In an alternate universe where Joseph Woll didn't get injured this season, and I think there'd be more of a discussion. I just didn't see him get back up to the level of play, after spraining his ankle, to where he was right before the playoffs. He only played, I think, 3 of the last 10 games of the regular season. It seems as though they've telemarked Samsonov as being their guy. And so, I didn't see this as a decision that needed to be made. Now, look, if it doesn't go well tonight, because Samsonov, as we know, had a couple rough starts right at the end of the regular season. Sees 4 pucks go by him in game 1. If you see something similar in this game, I think that'll be dominating the discussion for game 3. But I don't think at this stage it's quite yet a decision for them. I think it's pretty automatic that you go back to Samsonov. What's interesting is we still don't know what the Bruins are going to do. They've alternated their starters. We've alternated their starters for 27 straight games, but obviously Swayman was one of the positive stories on Boston's end of that first night, and it's I wouldn't want to be making that call. I guess you can look at it. There's not a wrong call to make because Ullmark did play well down the stretch. It's what they've done all year. If they do end up switching to goaltender, but after putting up 35 saves and being so solid as Swayman was, it would be kind of strange to see him pulled out at the same time.
Yeah, I think that is, if you're the Leafs, I'm hoping Ullmark plays tonight. Like, just because if he goes in there and struggles, that becomes a massive story in Boston. Like, massive story that Jim Montgomery didn't go back to the guy who stood on his head, who beat the Leafs. Well, he didn't even stand on his head. He played really well. He wasn't overly challenged, but he beat the Leafs 3 times during the regular season too. Like, Swayman's numbers against the Maple Leafs in the last calendar year have been out of this world. And if he goes to Ullmark tonight, that'll take a lot of courage. Like, I'll give him credit for that. That would take a lot of stones, because the conventional move would be obviously Swayman goes back in. If they go to Ullmark and Ullmark plays really well, it's one of the more fascinating moves in recent coaching history, CJ.
We talked about
crazy.
it. We said a lot. Noodles believes in it and understands it because that's what they always do. They put Ullmark in tonight and he's a gas can. I would want to strangle Jimmy Mont.
That's what I'm saying. I
what
think
if he's not, though?
Well, that's,
what if he's
of course,
not a
what if?
can?
It's all what ifs.
Like, the guy won the Vezina last year. You guys are
it's
acting
a
like
what if contest, but I find it crazy.
He was pretty
He's
bad
a
in the
hell of a
playoffs
goalie.
last year, though, Noodles. He wasn't great against Florida.
He was fine for the first 4 when they were up 3-1, and then he got hurt.
That's
the thing.
All right. Then why didn't he start game 1? I know it's a back and forth. But
if he's hurt, why is he even going in the net?
Well, he's not now.
No,
but last year he would have
Last
been.
year in Game 5, he got hurt.
Yeah.
He tried to battle through. It didn't work out for them. I'm telling you, I feel like Ullmark's playing tonight.
I
feel
know.
like he's playing
You've been
tonight.
adamant about that.
It's funny. I think that too. Masters down here says I'm crazy, but I think they're going Ullmark. It's just a hunch. It's not knowledge, but
It'll be a wild story, man. It'll be a wild story. Quickly, it looks like the Buffalo Sabres have hired Lindy Ruff.
Our guy.
Lindy, are you okay there, Lindy? Yeah, Lindy. Lindy Ruff back to the well. I don't know about that one, man. He had a good run in Jersey, but I get it. He's done it, but it's like Jacques Martin vibes.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing in Buffalo? That was quick, right, Noodles? I mean,
it's a bit quick for me, and yes, there's a history there, all of that type of stuff. But Jacques Martin came in as the interim, and to get them through the rest of the season until they got sorted. This isn't bringing him in to settle things down for a couple months, and while you evaluate with new ownership, all of that type of stuff. Like, This is bringing back a guy who has a long history there. I don't know. I mean, I love Lindy. We all love Lindy, but to me, there's some dynamite coaches out there as well. Todd McClellan's out there, Craig Berube's out there. There's some great coaches, but Lindy's one of them. And they're familiar
Lindy's
with
the
him.
guy.
So
CJ,
have at it.
What do you make of that?
Giving me Cito Gaston vibes a little bit when the Jays brought him back.
Great comparison.
Yes.
It feels a little bit like they're do you call it desperate? Like they haven't. How many coaches have they had with this group that hasn't made the playoffs? They had the longest playoff drought, and they're going back to the last guy that had a successful run there behind the bench. So, not that I don't think Lindy can coach, and the Devils are one of the good stories last season under him, and did make the playoffs, get to the second round. But it just feels like they've tried other things, I guess, and they don't have any more answers. So they're going back to the one familiar guy that has had a lot of success there.
CJ, thanks for doing this as always. 2 of the 4 of us are joggers, so if you're jogging in the morning, maybe we could FaceTime and just do a little simple salute to each other tomorrow morning. So let's touch base later and find out when the jogs are happening, and maybe we'll do that amongst ourselves.
All right, are we going to get you down here in Boston, later in the series, man?
That would mean OverDrive traveling. We don't do that.
Yeah.
It's a great jogging town, man. All the universities.
I've heard that.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I've done some walking down there. I've never done any jogging.
Hammered.
Yes, absolutely. I could tell you.
They just had a marathon there.
Yeah.
Chara at 3:30 or
was
something.
Chara was it the Boston Marathon he was in, CJ? Chara?
He did 2. He did the Boston Marathon last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and then he did London over in England this weekend.
Wow.
Like, the guy he's unreal. It's insane if you look at he's run 10 marathons in a year.
Guy's a machine, 6'9". Imagine looking back and he's chasing you. Like, you would feel that way, even though he's just running.
Like, that guy must run so fast. I tried to walk in an airport, and my buddy was really tall. I couldn't even keep up with him. Imagine jogging with that dude.
I know. Yeah, you're like his steps per marathon.
Yes, and I've got 31 leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough.
It's got to be tough, CJ. Like, you trying to keep up with him, you'd be sprinting, basically. He'd be in a light jog.
I would absolutely have twice as many steps in him to cover the same distance.
Yeah. Yeah, that is tough.
He's a foot taller than me. So.
All right, CJ, enjoy it. Enjoy the running, and give our guy here a FaceTime tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good, guys. Enjoy the game.
There's Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander, in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, tall guys like 6'9" is wild. Like, even as an adult, I'm 6'2", and it's wild. Like, if you're a kid and you're looking up at Zdeno Chara, it must be terrifying. Like, just terrifying.
One of my best buddies, Lyler, he's 6'2", lean. He doesn't even jog, man. This guy could go on a guy's trip and drink beer for 10 days and then just wake up and say, I got to get 15K in. And he doesn't even jog. He runs. He sprints.
Yeah, I know. If you just, you have to inherit that gene. You have to be a runner.
I don't have it, man.
I don't either. I hate running.
Neither do I.
I hate it with a passion. But there are people that love to run, or they understand they have to run. And you're right. I have buddies, I've told you that, so hungover, they get up and run the next morning. So hungover.
You know what you need to do, and this is going to be a part of my motivational speaking. You got to train your mind and your body to start loving it. It's in your DNA, Hazy, to like competition, to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
You just haven't unlocked your potential.
You're right about
because
that.
you like lying on the couch. Once you get your ass off the couch, everything starts transforming and you do things differently.
Good point. That's why I love the golf. I haven't heard this in a while.
I'm talking about all the
we
way to
do.
the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Dude, I'm serious. You just become a loser, man.
Yeah?
I used to sit on the couch and be like, my grass is probably the size of this room. I'd be like, I got to cut the grass today. And that would be my one thing for the day. Like, if I got that done, I would reward myself with like a nice
Steak dinner, bottle of wine.
gnocchi with meatballs for cutting the grass. And I'm like, that's your, like, that was my day. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
or
crazy.
it would be even worse. It's like you just start thinking and acting like a loser. You're like, That load of laundry, that's my day. If I get that load of like a load of laundry on quick wash is 12 minutes, and then you fire it in the dryer.
Yeah, generally speaking, it can be quick. You're right. Getting stuff put away, it's tough.
Everything.
It's a grind. But once you start doing it, how does golf factor into that, though? Like, you got golf season here now. You got other things to do, but you're going to have your 3.5.
Dude, you know when I play my golf, I'll be up working out at 5 a.m. golf, and then I'll be doing other thing.
Okay.
Dude, I'm like people that go into people's houses. You ever seen the show Hoarders? Mm-hmm. I have gone through, it's like I've turned into a crazy person. I'm cleaning up my whole house, every drawer, organized, everything.
Wow.
Everything is in order.
Wow.
How's your trunk? How's the trunk,
I was
right,
just
Noodle?
going to say,
Come out in the break and look at my trunk.
I'll come and do a full inspection of your car.
Dude, remember when you guys would say this guy's car's a mess?
Yes.
Sometimes when your car's a mess, everything else is a mess. My car is spotless right now.
Okay. Are you willing to open the doors? Because I'll go take a look. Noodle's on our behalf. I can go take a look.
That's what I'm just saying. Like, that's exactly where I went. How you live your life is if you open somebody's car and it looks like a disaster, you know that person is a disaster.
Dude, you guys saw my truck. Sometimes it took me 6 months to clean my car, but that's where your mental state is. That's what my book's going to be called, Clean Your Car.
That's that's great. That's a good analogy to use.
I've got one for you. You said it, and I don't even know if you actually caught on to it. Unlock your potential. I heard you say that line.
I'm going to get Hazy B off the couch and firing on new cylinders.
Sure, man. Yeah, I feel like I'm doing a lot. I got young kids. I'm outside. I'm trying to get things done. The lawn was really You know what bothered me this weekend? I was outside with the kids. Lawn is a little bit patchy.
My neighbors garbage right now. I hate it.
It's that time of year. Like I've got
I'm
stuff
concerned
going.
where I'm like, is this going to be the same?
But that's the thing. And I have my neighbors like right across the street. It's like Augusta National. Augusta, like their lawn is perfect.
You said he resods every year.
Yeah, there's some. It's really wild. And they're older. They don't have kids. I got too much on my plate. But there were other people in the neighborhood getting things done, and I'm like, okay, I got to get on this. I'm getting on this. Jiffy app's going to help me out, and then I got to stay on it throughout the season because it's that time of year where people are getting back outside, and if the lawn's starting to fall apart, it's not good, man. You can't unlock your potential. You cannot unlock your potential if the grass is not in a state of pristine being.
My life coach said to me early on, he's like, your body craves strength training and circuit training. And in my head, I didn't say it to him because he might have suckered me. I was thinking, I crave hitting a 4-iron under a tree to 10 feet and sour keys. But now, my body, because early on, I was just like, I just want to hit a 4-iron under a tree and put it to 10 feet. Like a cut face.
Which you still do. Why does that have to change?
I still crave that, but I'm like, I crave pasta and meatballs and sour keys. I don't crave resistance training.
Right.
But once you start, man, I'm telling you.
All right. It's very inspiring stuff. We need you in the Leafs room tonight.
Let's go look at the truck.
Yeah, I'm going to go look. I'm going to give a full breakdown. I'm looking under the seats. If I find like a, sweet and sour under there, it's coming in.
A sweet and sour sauce?
Yes,
Dude,
absolutely.
give your head a shit.
You have an old stash in there that I think you forgot. Give me 30 seconds, I'll find it. But if not, full credit. Full credit. Full breakdown. Hey, Duke, if you want to come out, you can record the whole thing. All right? Overdrive continues. Carlo Colaiacovo coming up. Jason Strudwick coming up. Best bets still to come. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Buffalo Fanatic tweeting in saying maybe a new segment to replace Dear Hazy B. O-Dog, life coach advice. I think maybe we could mix them both in. Carlo Colaiacovo joining us. Carlo, you wouldn't believe how inspiring O's been today. I just went to take a look at his truck. Very impressive. Very impressive.
That's what my book's going to be called. Clean my car.
Clean my car.
This guy's a completely different person.
I know. You've known him a long time, right? He's a completely different beast.
This guy started his day off with us in the morning on First Up, and man, the motivational speaking this guy was giving the Maple Leafs was incredible.
I'm going to build giant buildings.
Okay.
I've got one question.
Go ahead.
I've got one question. How new is the vehicle? Because you've had some turnover.
No, it's a year or so, 6 months. Yeah, like they're
September, I got the vehicle.
Yeah, it's got some miles on it, Noodles.
Okay,
And I
fair
will
enough,
admit
because,
that I'm going in there with the impression of what I used to see was simply outrageous.
Dude, there would be 3 sets of clubs, 2 baseball bats, duct tape.
Yeah,
It
a
was-
mannequin in there for some reason. You
Dead
had some wild
animals.
stuff.
Like there would be like
There was
it was like
wild
going into
stuff.
Kramer's condo. That's
Yeah,
what it was
disgusting.
like. You had no idea that
Yeah.
there was something going on. It was not good.
Noodles,
because
I told you, there would be times where I'm like, I got to clean my car out. And I'm not kidding. This is where people's headspace can. It took 6 months to clean it.
Yeah.
You
That's what-
delay it for 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
And
How much-
imagine the garbage piling on top.
How much better do you feel about everything,
Dude, amazing.
Yeah, he's an inspirational speaker. He's got a whole new thing going. All right,
Good
so
for you, buddy. I'm proud of you.
Carlo Colaiacovo with us. First up, always inspiring today. How are you feeling, Coco, about Game 2 tonight?
I feel pretty good about this team and the way their ability to respond tonight. I mean, this is what this team has been accustomed to doing the last couple of years. Every time people crap on them and they feel like their backs are up against the walls. I mean, you look at that game on Saturday night. I know a lot of people want to be angry about the result, but if they clean up a couple areas of their game, I mean, I say a couple areas, they're important areas. Obviously, their special teams needs to be a hell of a lot better. And they've got to find a way to score goals. I mean, we said the magic number has to be 3 today because they haven't scored more than that in 8 consecutive playoff games. So I didn't think they were that bad 5-on-5 last game. Obviously, they were very undisciplined. But I think if they can clean that up, hey, look, we talked about it before the series starts. If they walk out of Boston 1-1,
You're happy with that? Yeah,
Exactly.
that's all you were expecting. You weren't expecting to go into Boston and take 2 games. You were expecting a better performance, I think, some more life on Saturday night. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes with sports, you can simplify things. And with hockey, obviously, goes without saying, you got to score more goals than the opposition. But if you can't get to 3, and it's 8 games in a row now in the playoffs where you've scored 2 or fewer, you're going to be in the position you're in.
Mike Babcock used to say it was generally a race to 3-2 or 2-1.
Yeah, it should be. And that's the thing. And if they get to 3 tonight, that's got to be enough. Like, it has to be enough.
But you know
can't
all the
lose 4-3.
factors that go into that. 3's got to be enough means one thing.
I mean, Samsonov's got to play well.
Damn right.
He's got to play well. He was okay, just okay. But the nature of that position, Noodles, I mean, if he's got to make 45 stops, I've said this for a decade. If you got to make 45 stops tonight, you have to. You got to find a way to win that game.
Noodles, did you think he was screened on that Carlo goal? Because I personally didn't think there was enough of a screen to say that he shouldn't have stopped the puck.
The camera angle wasn't the angle from the puck. If you look at the angle from the puck, Holmberg was right in the lane. Block the shot or get the hell out of the way. He was the
I'm
only
with you,
screen
Noodles.
on that play.
drives me
that's
nuts.
Like you're standing there and I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get in the lane and maybe force him to make a pass instead of he's the only guy in Samsonov's face, literally. And to your guys' point, you're right. Like the Leafs have to score more. What concerns me is Pasternak wasn't super effective.
Wasn't his night.
Boston's got guys that have to wake up too. This might be a 5-4 game. It might be a 6-4 with an empty netter. You've got to find a way. The game within the game is critical. Special teams, Boston won game 1 in special teams. Discipline, Boston won game 1. Goaltending, Boston won game 1. Like star power, I mean, that's where it is. Pasternak wasn't a world beater. He had a couple looks, but that's where, if you start checking off boxes, you got to win more than you don't. And then you hope that the goaltender, you hope that some of the big boys deliver at critical times. That's what we talk about. And that's what's on the line here tonight for me.
And you would have thought coming into this series, if you hold those guys off the score sheet, you feel pretty good about your chances.
No kidding.
And
watch out for that
game.
88 tonight in black.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he's going to have something to say.
Oh, I agree.
Well, 34 better
but
too.
That's the thing.
part.
Exactly. Matthews is the best goal scorer in the world. Pasternak's not far behind him, but I fully expect Pasternak to show up and likely score tonight. And it may not be good enough just to have one. If you might have to rip 2 home tonight. And I think setting the tone. Like if I'm Sheldon Keefe, I'm starting their line again tonight, and I'm saying get it deep, get it in, and perform. Because I think the first goal, Carlo, is imperative here because of the mojo that's going against them, against this team in particular.
You're absolutely right. And just to touch on the Matthews convo we just finished, somebody asked me today, what did you think about Matthews' game? How would you grade it? And I said, well, he looked good, but it's not good enough. Mm-hmm. Like, he can play as good as he wants. If he's not leading this team to a victory, it's not good enough. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right, Ace. You can talk about 8 games in a row not beating this team. I think I heard you earlier saying they haven't led for a second.
Not once this year have they had a lead. It's either been tied or the Bruins have been winning.
If that is not the goal of today's game, then I don't know how serious these guys are about winning, because you'd have to think, okay, guys, we have a chance to change everything here. Let's just go out and get that first goal. Like, let them play with a deficit. Let's play with the lead here. Let's let them adjust to us. If they're constantly catching Boston, well, it just opens up, more holes to this team that clearly, we are already concerned going into this series about the way their defense and goaltending plays. If now you're trailing against them, it's just going to open up more reasons for them to have offense. And that's something this Maple Leafs team against this Boston Bruins team cannot play catch-up hockey.
Mm. Yeah, put yourself in the driver's seat. Put yourself in the driver's seat.
And you know what? Boston is pretty solid defensively. We know that. This is playoff hockey, so there's nothing's going to be a freebie. You don't get to skate up the ice through the neutral zone and get, untouched and be drop passes and stuff. It's an adjustment, and both sides have to adjust. They're going to look at last game and say, okay, what do we need to improve on? Look at matchups, all of these types of stuff. The in-game adjustments, the series adjustments, I think are critical. And Boston's probably going to be trying to adjust to some of the things that the Leafs are doing, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So let's see what happens here. You got to play with that emotion, but it's got to be controlled emotion for me.
Absolutely. How many minutes do we think Mark Stone will play tonight? Think he'll play 20?
Whatever his usual minutes are.
Full
18
shift.
to 23.
Yeah. It's playoffs, man.
Isn't it? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, let's call it what it is. Vegas can get away with it. It's within the rules of the CBA. But
there's also a serious injury involved.
Yeah,
like how serious can it be?
Okay.
They were playing 4 days ago. The guy can't play, and now all of a sudden he can play. Cleared for contact right when the regular season. That's ridiculous, and we all know it.
He had a timing worked.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
The timing worked out perfect for this. I mean,
what a miracle.
Let's call it the way that it is.
It's miraculous, like last year.
I mean, as O said, like, this guy had a legit injury. And
how do we know, though? How do we know? Like, we take Kelly McCrimmon's word for it, of course.
You can't go into the doctor and say, can you say my spleen's ruptured, guy?
No, I understand that. But everyone just takes it at face value. And even remember McCrimmon at the trade deadline where he's like, I don't even know, man. And then miraculously, again, for game one, this guy will come out of the chute flying tonight.
I like when Strombo, Roberto Luongo, tweeted out the wrestling thing with the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And he
was right. He was right. It's Kevin Nash.
Kevin Nash, yeah.
Kevin Nash just stands. And Bobby Lou just tweets out, first day of the playoffs. Guy stands up and runs into the ring.
Listen, I credit Vegas because they're playing by the rules. It's just the inconsistencies of the league with the circumventing of the rules. Remember when the league collapsed when Kovalchuk signed his long-term deal and everyone's reaction to that and all the money being dumped around and what's going on with long-term IR. And, they've just pulled this off beautifully. And Stone will return tonight.
If you're not willing to make a change to the salary cap system because you have people constantly taking advantage of it and creating a bad look for the league, if you're not willing to make a change on it, then you can't yell and scream at people that are willing to take advantage of it. Right?
Here's the thing I'll say too, though. Like, at some point they're going to get clipped, and what I mean by clipped is maybe Mark Stone isn't up to game speed. Maybe that. That's the thing. Hurdle looked pretty decent this last week and a half or whatever. He's talking today. I read his comments saying, yeah, Mark and I have had a lot of conversations, some dinners and stuff like that. Hopefully the chemistry will be there. Like, that's something they're really taking a chance, hoping this guy can jump on a moving train. Yeah. Now, he's a great player. He's a great player, and great players find ways to get it done. Mark Stone is a hell of a player, he's not about speed. He's about smarts. I get it. I think he's going to hit the ground running. But there's a chance he won't. There's a chance that Dallas is just too much for them.
I'll bet you this guy will look like Joe Scott.
There he is.
There he is. Yeah. That's Stone. That's Stone's leg.
So, Noodles, what are you more concerned about with Vegas? Because I've been on the Vegas train all year. I think they were a team primed to repeat. And obviously, they're a bad matchup for any team that they could have placed in the playoffs, and especially Edmonton, who most of us thought they were going to play. I actually think they might have met their match here with Dallas. Like, I think Dallas is a team that is suited to beat the Vegas Golden Knights.
Unless they expose something right off the hop where it's like that. Remember that what we did to you last year? Like, it was, I think, Game 6 where they waltzed in there and they kicked their ass. Their fourth line was dominant. If they show that right away and say, remember that? That could be problematic, but I do hear what you're saying.
There obviously is question marks because they weren't that consistent team. They started the season a house on fire, no hangover, and then they kind of limped into the playoffs, limped down the stretch here and then lost to Anaheim that last game where
and Aiden Hill hasn't looked good either.
He hasn't looked great. It was Logan Thompson who's been the guy. So there's lots of question marks, but O always says, and it's true. I do agree with him on this. It's playoff time. The slate is clean. Let's see what these guys have. But Dallas is a hell of a team.
Yeah,
hell of a team. Zero weakness. So we'll see what they've got going, too.
Yep, they should be hungry again. Like we said, Vegas got them last year. All right, TSN 1050 is putting passionate Leaf fans in the stands to see Leafs Bruins round 1. Today's 5 p.m. keyword is chirp. All right, the keyword of this hour is chirp. You have 10 minutes to text chirp in your name to 105050 and tell us what makes you a diehard Leafs fan on Wednesday morning. First up, we'll be calling one devoted fan with a pair of tickets to see Game 3. Keywords are announced every weekday within the 8 a.m., 3 p.m., and 5 p.m. hour. So the more you listen, the better your chances of winning the tickets. Again, this hour, the keyword is chirp. Text that in your name to 105050. Tell us why you are a diehard Leaf fan, and Carlo and AK could be calling you Wednesday morning. Love that.
Love it.
Love that. Love it. Thanks.
Great.
It's the way O used to love to chirp Pat Quinn.
Yes. You chirp ever at Pat Quinn, or did he just chirp at you?
Just behind his back.
All right, Carlo, we'll catch you tomorrow at 6 a.m.
You got it, boys.
There's Carlo Colaiacovo First Up. All right. Who do we got coming up here? Struddy coming up. Jason Strudwick in about 20 minutes. And Jonas Siegel live from Boston ahead of Game 2 tonight. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Jason Strudwick coming up in about 15 minutes. Leafs Bruins tonight. The Jays are in action tonight. How about Jose Barrios, man? He's got a .85 ERA. That's a franchise record through 5 starts. .85. That's better than anything we saw from Steve, from Halladay, from Clemens when he won back-to-back Cy Youngs. I mean, the guy's a beast right now. And your boy Yusei's been great, too. He's on the mound tonight.
I know. And you know what? They win 2 of 3. I think they're feeling pretty good about their game. Like they're still there's still more there, though. That's what's kind of, I think, bothering. A couple of my buddies are huge Blue Jay fans. They're saying there's more there. Like you want to see more consistency. But I like what they're doing right now. I like how the pitchers are pitching. Like they're getting healthier too. That's
a big part of it as well. But you're right. They're 2 games above 500. The AL East is going to be what it is. Bichette has not done anything yet. Vladdy has not done much. Vladdy's been actually consistent with the way he's played the last 2 years, more or less. His stats would suggest that his OPS, his power, he's hit 3 home runs. He's had opportunities to turn on pitches. Yesterday, he had a few right in his zone. He didn't connect on them. Bichette, though, has not had a good start. Springer hasn't had a great start, but it's balanced out to the point where they're 12-10, and they've won a lot of series now. I think they've won 4 series in a row. These are tough series, man. You took 2 or 3 against the Yankees, 2 or 3 against San Diego. Some wild stuff down in New York, actually, where Aaron Boone got tossed in the first inning today. Did you see that? Where he was warned
for not doing nothing.
He did nothing. This whole scene, this is going to go viral, and we probably can't play it because it's so sensitive. Do we have it? Like, is it playable? Why don't we play it? This is a pure ump show, but this happened earlier today. It was an afternoon game at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah,
and this is in the first inning.
You saw making that call.
You're not yelling at me. I did what I was supposed
looking for him to get hit by the pitch. You got anything else to say? You're gone. Okay?
Oh, okay, Hunter.
Wow. You know what? We're not going to need a John Boy breakdown of that one. We got a very clear. There you go. And now Aaron's saying I didn't say anything. Aaron's saying, hold on a second. I didn't say a word.
I did not say a word. I did not say anything, Hunter.
Okay, so he literally doesn't say anything. If you're listening to this, Boone is like looking out at center field, and the guy gets tossed because some fan starts beaking the umpire.
That's what it is. That's
so
what it
funny.
was. It was a goon fan that chirped him, and it sounded like him.
I love this story.
I was dying laughing when I saw it.
Yeah, it's so good because Boone can be a snap show too. And it's early, and the ump, it's an ump show. It's an older ump being a hero, of course. But Boone is literally like, all right, no problem. I won't say another word. And then he gets tossed because some guy in the front row starts chirping the ump, and he gets tossed. It's incredible. Also, John Sterling, they had their big, goodbye, I guess, ceremony for him over the weekend. They brought out like an 83-inch TV, which is expensive, but what's he going to do with that? You know what I mean? Like, what's
nothing?
Like, what if he took a cab to the game? What's he doing with that TV? You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys.
It's still so cheap.
Yes.
Like, it's awful.
Yes.
Like, you can buy that at Best Buy for $300 on Black Friday. Like,
there's no thought put into it. It's like, go run across the street, get Sterling a TV, and we'll be done with it. It's just outrageous.
It was terrible.
It's so goofy.
I was laughing so hard. What if the box was empty? They're just like,
That
hey,
would
we
be
gave
great,
you
too.
like. I guaranteed it's an intern that grabbed it. They forgot to do something for him, and they grabbed it.
Definitely. Just like the wine in Oakland with Miggy last year. Same thing. All right, final hour coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.